Good evening and welcome to live coverage of the final round of the RWB Constructors Championship Season 8 from a rather chilly and overcast Bathurst in Australia. One of the truly great tracks, not just in the Southern Hemisphere, but in the world, home to, amongst others, the Bathurst 12 Hours and the famous Bathurst 1,000 kilometre touring car race in V8 Supercars. I'm Rob Lomas and I will be leading the commentary for the final round of this season. And I'm delighted to say that I'm joined in the commentary box tonight by Damien Lowe, who was actually racing last time we were here at Bathurst a couple of seasons ago now. So yeah, this should be a fun one tonight.
We just hope that no one just crashes into like the main straight after turn one.
Yes, there was a little bit of a crash the last time we raced here, but hopefully there won't be a repeat of that tonight. It's Adam Kozłowski on provisional pole position at the moment in the Mercedes, just ahead of his teammate Mark Lessington, with Marco Badowski third, Wouter Vlian fourth, Crawford Brown fifth. As we've got about a minute or so to go in qualifying. Lamborghini are down a car this weekend because, or this round, excuse me, because Harry Hottie has had to withdraw owing to becoming a father. So on behalf of everyone at RWB International, to Harry and the rest of his family, many congratulations, mate, and hope your wife and your son are doing well. Currently looking at Peter Varga in the number 12 McLaren, heading into the chase now. The GT3 cars are a little bit quicker than the V8s around here. The V8s do hit higher top speeds down Conrod Straight, although that is owing to the fact that they've got about 100 and a bit brake horsepower more than what the GT3 cars have, depending on BOP. Chris Meese in a de-restricted Audi R8 and with some special soft tyres a few years back actually became the first GT driver to dip under 2 minutes around here, the onboard for which is still on YouTube somewhere and well worth watching. Meese being absolutely phenomenally quick around here, and a former competitor in the Australian GT Championship as well, if I remember correctly. Good lap from Emma Plate to go up into 6th in the big Nissan GTR. And he's now just been bumped down to 7th by Berno Reitzma. We've got Todor Kostadinov up there in 8th in the BMW. Shirley 9th in the Lexus. Atkinson 10th in the Audi. Shipston, Begg, Chafer, Wood, Gillespie, Josh Barton, Ian Mackey, Damien Vilk, Peter Varga and Jack Mason rounding out the top 20. They've got, as Magnus Dahlgren in fact sets a late fly to go up into 14th place. Good lap from him in the yellow and blue car number 89 Ferrari, very patriotically liveried in the colours of the Swedish flag. Let's see, just down to 25th there, it's Mason 21st, Mad Owl 22nd, Kevin Shepherd 23rd, Xavier Eugenie in 24th, and Chris Brook in 25th on the grid. There's a few drivers who I think have who have either set slightly slower laps or not set a lap time due to track limits, potentially, of which it is possible to get done for track limits at Bathurst. Although most of the track limits are pretty solid and made of concrete, I think it's fair to say.
Only track limits on the track is like wall riding, and that's not really advisable.
Well, unless
unlike the NASCAR race over the weekend.
Yes, I was going to say, unless you're Ross Chastain and it's the last lap of the race, it's not really recommended to try wall riding around Bathurst. Absolutely stunning bit of driving, though, which caught the attention of the entire motorsport world, with plaudits coming in from the likes of Chip Ganassi, from Fernando Alonso, from Pierre Gasly. So a lot of very high praise indeed. A quick rundown through the back end of the field, quick. Al Gardner 26th, Miko Sky 27th, Hugo Gomez 28th, Matt Sherblum 29th, Giorgio Minga in 30th, and Eddie Warden in 31st in the Bentley. It's not
Gomez
usual
starting at the back is a bit of an oof.
Yeah, well, Warden, I don't think actually set a lap time in qualifying. I don't know if it's because he was a late joiner to the session and didn't have enough time to do outlap and a flying lap, or if he's been having some technical issues. So we'll have to keep an eye on that during the race. And we will be able to keep an eye on that during the race because I'll be having live timing up. So we can certainly do that.
So Red is not around, and so we had to rely on Auto Director for tonight.
Yes, indeed, we are relying on the automatic director, which should be interesting, to say the least.
He promised that he'll be here for this race, but I guess not.
Yeah, it's just we've got about a minute and 20 seconds before the race is due to start. No wind, it's overcast, and it is not exactly warm. It's about 15 degrees Celsius air temperature, 20 degrees track temperature, so, well, anything...
The child gets to live.
Yeah. I mean, the engines will quite like it because it's going to be quite dense. I mean, usually during the 12 hours, we get temperatures high 20s, low 30s, if I remember correctly. So it's going to be quite nice for the engines in comparison, although maybe not so much the tyres, although come to think of it, temperatures that hot, you're going to be burning up your tyres fairly quickly. Anyone new to the championship, the rules are quite straightforward. One 20-minute race, one 40-minute race, one mandatory pit stop in each race, and the drivers only have 2 sets of tyres for qualifying and both races, so it's going to be interesting to see who decides to, say, bolt on a fresh set of tyres for this race and kind of pay the price and deal with the consequences later on, or if we're going to see some drivers actually starting on the tyres that they've done a very fast lap on in qualifying and then be having to deal with that a bit later on in the first race, but would be a bit better off in the second race because they'll have nice, lovely, fresh, grippy tyres. Unless it starts raining, of course, then in which case everyone's going to have to probably dash into the pits for wet. So either way, the race has started. As we're looking at the back of the field, there's a bit of a concertina effect there. Eddie Warden already making up 4 places before they even get to turn 1. Currently looking at Marco Badowski just running maybe a little bit wide there coming out of turn 1. The GTR's got through. I've noticed that being MO plates. He's got Total Kostadinov right there with him, so he's dropped down to, I'll make that P7. May have been off the track very slightly.
Just saw a dive at turn 1, like before the camera cut away.
Yeah, I think that may have been, I'm not sure who that might have been actually. It's still showing Nathaniel Shirley as being in P3. He's actually, as the timing totem correctly says, in P9, just behind Kostadinov, as everyone now starts to thread their way over the top of the mountain. The section of track which is absolutely adored by drivers and race fans around the world, not just in Australia. Everyone absolutely hanging on as they go over the top for the first time and heading down towards the Dipper for the first time in this race.
It's fun to watch, but not really fun when driving through it.
Yeah, it is like an absolute roller coaster, and in fact, the change of terrain is so steep here. They use parts of the track for hill climbing, which is going to come as a surprise to precisely nobody. We're currently looking at Brian Gillespie in the Honda NSX, currently down in P16 at the moment, driving car number 15, and part of me really wants to see him in 15th place. Sorry, Magnus, just so you can say that car number 15 is in 15th. Unfortunately, he's got a bit of work to do. There's Miko Sky's one of the Aston Martins having a bit of a moment. That's Xavier Eugenie. And Eddie Warden gets past as well as they head down into the final corner for the first time. Car number 97 is showing as stopped on the pitch straight. I believe that's Ian Mackey. Well, I think he is going again now. Not quite sure why that was the case. Meanwhile, Kozłowski has pulled out a 1 and a bit second lead over Crawford Brown on the opening lap, which is no small feat in itself. Currently looking at Ian Begg, who is P12 at the moment in the Audi R8 LMS Evo 2. I think that car's been around for as long as it has, and might well be the last factory built GT3 car Audi make, given their pursuit of electrification and the Formula 1 engine program. All right, so there with a bit of an off over the mountain. You saw him just look as if he did hit the wall ever so slightly there, and that's about 200-ish km/h corner as well. There's a car which has reset to the pits. That's the 777, I believe, after an incident over the mountain. So I will try and have a look quickly to see who that was. 777 is Miko Sky in the Bentley, and unfortunately for him, he's had a fair old whack into the barriers, unfortunately. It's a car off down at Forest Elbow. It's the 54, is that, or 94? I can't quite tell, unfortunately, so I may have to have a look. Pit window is open after less than 2 laps, which is not really much of a surprise. There's more shenanigans going on further back through the field. Spadowski comes in, Shirley comes in, Atkinson comes in. Currently riding on board with Todor Kostadinov now. That is indeed the 14, I think, has just been involved in an incident somewhere. The 84 is Josh Barton, who is still well down the field. He's just coming up to the final corner now and is staying out in the hope to try and gain a couple or few positions. Although, in fact, sorry, as I say that, he decides against doing that and comes into the pits. What were we saying a couple of races ago about me and drivers coming into the pits? Well, it's happened again. Ian Begg trying to hold off Nigel Wood. Oh, did Wood give the wall a bit of a nudge there in the Ferrari? I'm not sure. Begg going over to the left-hand side as they start to head down the hill once more. The Audi very, very nimble and able to make up a little bit of ground. He's right on the back of Shipston. Unfortunately, I think the Lexus might be a little bit quicker down the straight. And what a long straight this is. In fact, it used to be even longer prior to the 1980s, because
Looks like
they
Gomez has crashed at the dipper.
Yep, Gomez unfortunately may have had a bit of an off there in the Porsche. At the dipper, but back in the day, this used to be just one long straight all the way down to the final corner, and they had to actually build the chase because they well, Bathurst was actually going to be a round of the World Touring Car Championship in 1987, and the FIA had a rule that said, sorry, you can't have a straight that's over 2 kilometres long. So they also, I think there'd been an incident a year or two earlier.
The final corner either.
Yeah, those speeds back in, this would have been before Group A as well, and yeah, they would have been going at fair old rate down into the final corner, and they actually built the Chase, which is the fastest corner in Australian motorsport. If you're doing it right in a V8 supercar, you through there flat at about 280, 290. Oh, was that a bit of an off there for Wood? I think it might have been.
It was.
There's Badowski, and Wood has dropped back a fair bit from the back of Badowski's car. So, sorry, Chafer, excuse me. That's Badowski's a bit further down the field because he's already pitted. Yes, he has. So yeah, bit of an off for Nigel Wood there, unfortunately. Yeah, I was actually reading that when they brought the Group A cars here for the first time, the lap times were they were only about 3 or 4 seconds slower than what the old touring cars were, as the 77 has gone off this time. Yeah, the 77.
Now he's just a sitting duck here while he just waits for the traffic to pass by.
Yeah,
safe enough to go through.
Absolutely, it's Nigel Wood, so I think his Ferrari might actually be suffering from a bit of suspension damage. So yeah, having to hold the car off the on the brakes there.
As Wood makes his way off, then Gillespie crashes. Well, not
yeah, Gillespie's also
went off into the gravel trap, it looks like.
Yeah, into the gravel at just about the one of the few places on the whole circuit where, well, on the mountain part in particular, where there is a gravel trap, thankfully. And yeah, there have been some. It's also where in qualifying for the 2020 Bathurst 12 Hours. I can't remember who was driving it, but one of the Lamborghinis ended up parked on top of the tyre barrier, and actually meant the police had to get involved because the car officially was outside the circuit boundaries, as that's one of the Audis going off there as well. That's Atkinson, I think, who has had a bit of a mistake there, maybe a little bit too late on the brakes into turn 1, and has unfortunately gone off the track. Yes, accident involving car number 112. That is indeed Toby Atkinson in the Audi. He's now got Nathaniel Shirley right behind him as well. So if he's... doesn't look like he's got too much damage on the side of the car though. Oh! Sherblum into the wall. Sherblum. And he's having to wait there a bit because he's got all manner of cars coming out through the cutting now. So yeah, Matt's doing the sensible thing, holding it on the brakes.
Could Atkinson have spun him out, or did he spin out on the backside?
No, I think there may have been a little bit of contact there, unfortunately, coming out the Forest Elbow. So not Forest Elbow, the cutting, excuse me. So I do think that he was helped into that one, unfortunately. Mats has, I think, actually returned to the pits. Yeah. Due to suspension damage on the BMW M4 GT3. Wout of Line's just come in from 6th place in the 666 Audi. So yeah, highest place of the Audis. It's currently Kozłowski, Brown, Lessentin, Reitzmer, Plate, Vlian, Kostadinov, Shipston, Begg, Chafer. That's your top 10 at the moment. Well, it does need to update a little bit first because it's actually more like Kostadinov, Shipston, Begg, Chafer, and then I think Dahlgren. Though Dahlgren's about 8 seconds or so behind this little battle here. So it might be Dahlgren, it might be, yes indeed it is Dahlgren, who has moved up into 10th. after Vline's pit stop. Currently looking at the back of Tom Shipston in the 60 Gazoo Racing Lexus. Going over the top of the mountain now. Hard on the brakes into the chase, where you're pretty much trail braking the entire time down through the box. You can accelerate a little bit through here, then dab of brakes down a gear, and then hard on the brakes for Forest Elbow. So when you see the Bentley Forest Elbow as it is in game, there's Damien Vilk, who I think has had a bit of damage on the Lamborghini. Car number 21, the front end's looking, well, not exactly how it came out the factory at St Agata. I think he may have had a bit of an off earlier in the race. Currently in P14 at the moment, albeit with...
Still needs to go and pit.
Yeah, he still needs to pit, and...
the line's just right behind him.
Yeah, Vline's pretty quick around Bathurst as well, so... and so's Damien, so this could be a fairly interesting battle. I think Damien might have
like too much damage.
Yeah, he might have a bit. Yeah, I was gonna say he might have a little bit of damage, or he might have just actually backed off to let Vline through, knowing that Vline has actually pitted. So either way, a position gained is a position gained. There's Chafer just going past us. We're looking at Magnus Dahlgren. You can just see Mad Owl there in the background in 8th place in the big Nissan GTR. There's Xavier Eugeni in the Aston Martin, the TF Sport entry. Also yet to pit, that's one of the Mercs coming out the pits. I think that's Kajowski. And Kajowski is now having to deal with an up-to-speed Vlian by the looks of things. So as they head up through turn 2 now, with a very hefty curb on the outside, and in the old supercars they basically almost straddle the curb and get almost in the barriers coming out the corners. A yellow flag at the exit of turn 1. That's the 41 car that's gone off. I believe that's Kevin Shepherd, unfortunately. So he's dropped down a few positions as a result. Whether he was on his own or whether he had a bit of help in the matter remains to be seen.
Sounds like it's some oversteer on the exit.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, the track temperature has warmed up slightly, which is good. Certainly good news for the drivers. But it's still not going to be producing all that much grip. Currently riding with Mark Lessington heading into Hell Corner. Once again, leading the race now that Crawford Brown has come into the pits, and most of the top, I think the entire top 8 can go till the end of this lap before needing to pit. So interesting to see how the strategy plays out here. Another yellow flag as there's a car off at the Forest Elbow. That's car number 19.
It's Jack Mason.
Yeah, unfortunately. Cheers, mate. Mason's had a bit of an incident. Unfortunately, Sherblum and Sky, sadly, I think are both retirements now from the race. Gillespie manages to get past Damien Vilk there down the Comrade Straight, well before the chase, in fact, to move up into 21st place overall. Coming up towards Murray's Corner now. Eugenie's in the pits. I think Sky is still showing as being in the pits, although that's more due to accident damage and being a retirement from the race, unfortunately. You can see Gillespie's...
He crashed out earlier.
Yeah, sadly. So it is a shame, and Sherblum has come into the pits as well for his pit stop. Unfortunately, Sherblum was involved in that incident at the cutting earlier on. Watch Gillespie through Quarry Bend. Good exit there. Vilk taking a lot more curb on the exit than what in the Lamborghini than what Gillespie was in the Honda. I've noticed as they come up through the cutting and round Griffin's Mount towards Reed Park. Been another off at the final corner, unfortunately, as they come through Solomon Park. Very tricky corner, absolutely no margin for error. Over the crest into McPhillamy Park now, and then it's down over Skyline through the S's towards the Dipper. Then coming out of here, chance to a little bit of acceleration, and then down into Forest Elbow once more. So there should be a couple more laps to go here at Bathurst. Currently looking at Adam Kozłowski in 5th place now. The now up into P3 as the most of the lead runners have all pitted. So Crawford Brown is showing as being in P7, although I suspect he's going to be a bit higher up the field than that. Mad Al still showing as being in the pits, and he has finished making his mandatory pit stop. Eddie Warden now up into 15th place as the 77 has had another off at Forest Elbow, riding with Nathaniel Shirley. Trying to go around the outside of Marco Badowski, heading into the cutting now. There's only really one line through here, and Badowski... Oh, sorry, that's Chafer, excuse me. Badowski's moved up a few places. And yeah, Chafer having to maybe back out of that one slightly, although he's not giving up. He's going to have a little look as they come through. Solomon Parker manages to pull it off. Cracking bit of driving there from Martin Chafer. Has anybody told Chafer that that's not really usually an overtaking spot? I don't think anyone has told him that that's not really usually an overtaking spot. Either way, absolutely gutsy move there from Martin Chafer, and he moves up into 10th place. Shirley going to try and get back past down Conrad Straight if he can. The next car up in front is Todor Kostadinov in the number 1 BMW, and Shirley manages to use the big V8 Lexus to get back up into 10th place. It's a car on track. That's a very battered looking Lamborghini. That's not Brook, that's not Vilk. It might be Al Gartner in his entry, looking very, very sorry for itself indeed.
The car number is 52.
Yeah, that's... I think he may have, unfortunately, have been involved in a bit of an incident somewhere, as this battle between Shirley and Chafer rages on with Kostadinov in the mix now. Meanwhile, the two Audis are battling out, Atkinson and Begg. They've got Magnus Dahlgren there in the Ferrari as well, ready to capitalise or hit the brakes very hard as Atkinson gets pushed wide by Begg. Yeah, Begg, I think, may have just pushed Atkinson a bit wide there at Quarry Corner, and Magnus Dahlgren is saying tar very much and makes up 2 positions as a result of that inter-team collision of sorts between the Audi drivers. Oh, to be a fly on the wall in their debrief after the race. Oh, that could be a bit of an interesting one.
I think I saw Atkinson slap the wall again going up.
Yeah, I think Atkinson might have a bit of damage, to be honest, after that. I wouldn't be surprised, because you do go into Quarry at a fair old rate in a big GT3 car, and it's taken usually in about 3rd gear, so it's not exactly a slow corner. Meanwhile, Tom Shipston trying to hold on to P7. Marco Badowski right behind him as they come out of the chase. Badowski very close indeed. He's only got one chance to actually...
late lunge?
I don't think so. He's too far back, realistically. It's Crawford Brown winning from Mark Lessington, Adam Kozłowski, MO Plate, Berno Reitzman, out of line, and now Tom Shipston and Marco Podolski in 8th place. Todor Kostadinov and Nathaniel Shirley round out the top 10, just ahead of Martin Schaefer and Magnus Dahlgren and then Ian Begg in the Audi. Atkinson 14th, Varga 15th, Warden, a good comeback drive to go 16th, Mackie 17th. Just waiting on the next few drivers to come through. There comes Maddow in 18th place. And then Xavier Eugeni in 19th. Chris Brook there, rounding out the top 20. Brian Gillespie, 21st place. Jack Mason in 22nd. Might be waiting a wee bit for some of the next few cars. There's Josh Barton in 23rd. And now I shall rely on pit wall for the rest of this. It's Damien Wilk in 24th with Kevin Shepherd rounding out the top 25. Hugo Gomez is in 26th place ahead of Giorgio Minga. And then it's Al Gartner in 28th in the 52 Lamborghini. Nigel Wood is in 29th after having a couple of hits with the wall. And Matt Scherblum rounds out the top 30 after it appeared he got spun out a bit. And then rounding out the field, unfortunately, is Mikko Sky, who had major damage by the looks of things after an incident earlier on in the race. In fact, Wood, I think, has returned to the pits and DNF'd from the race. There's Matt's crossing the line in 29th and just going straight on. Of course, Bathurst Mount Panorama is actually a public road, so it can be done, as meanwhile Al Gartner is coming through the chase for the final time. And I wish we could actually get a look at the number 52 Lamborghini. He comes round the final corner and Maddow is going... Sorry, not Maddow. Al Gartner, excuse me. Maddow's already finished the race. What am I saying? Al Gartner, sorry, has just come across the line in the Lamborghini there. Oh, Bathurst proving that it is a track to be reckoned with once more. Not only is it a track to be reckoned with, it is still one of the most feared circuits anywhere in the world, and one where if you make a mistake, you are well and truly punished for it. Just caught in the in-game text chat there. I think Atkinson was apologising to the driver of a yellow and blue car. So that's narrowed it down to either Dahlgren or Scherblum. So we'll wait and see if what happens next after that. Nice little break between races at the moment, whilst we wait for everyone to file back round to the pits and get ready for race 2. Where last time I think the theme through the season has been that race 1's been fairly calm, fairly sensible. Race 2 has just been absolute, complete and utter carnage for the most part, which, given the history of the CC here at Mount Panorama, this could be a bit spicy, to say the least. It's also the final race of the season, so there are, of course, championship implications, which, if I click on results on the lovely RWB international website, rwbracing.club, we can see that leading the drivers, it's still Marco Podolski leading the drivers' standings from Crawford Brown, and it's Tom Shipston, Nathaniel Shirley, Adam Kozlowski, Wouter Vlian is in 6th, George McDonald in 7th in the Lexus, excuse me, and then we've got Mo Plates, who for some reason is showing as being in multiple vehicles, although he's been in the GTR 2018 for every race. And then rounding out the top 10, it's Josh Barton and Mark Lessington. So there's driver standings. It's fairly close still between Badowski and Crawford Brown at the top. And Crawford starting right at the very front of the field might actually be able to make his way up into the lead of the championship, methinks. So that could definitely be something to potentially keep an eye on. The progress of Crawford Brown. So looking at the constructor standings, it's still quite close between Lexus, McLaren and Mercedes at the top. Then you go down a little bit further, got a battle between Audi and Ferrari for fourth, and then after that you've got quite a good battle actually between BMW, Lamborghini and Nissan for 6th, 7th and 8th, and actually Bentley aren't too far behind in 9th. Honda aren't really a million miles away either in 10th. And then you've got Porsche and Aston Martin, and Aston Martin are only 6 points behind Porsche. Yes, unfortunately we were just met with the rather worrying scenario of me having to attempt to do maths. Which is never a good thing because journalists and mathematics don't really go terribly well. Yeah. So, heading down towards Murray's Corner for the warm-up. Except it's
pretty
not
cold
warm.
track. We're at 11 degrees Celsius, both ambient and track.
Yes,
it's a light wind, 2 kilometers an hour.
Yes, the air and track temperatures are what's commonly known as, by motor racing standards, bloody freezing. As, oh dear, there's a report already off before we've even started the race.
I think Gomez had some hardware issue.
Yeah, it must have been a hardware for...
Because this happened like during our endurance race at Watkins. Like, he said that his screen just froze for like 5 seconds and then he just slammed into the wall for the last corner.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And that was only our major incident we had during that race, or like most damage we had.
Unfortunately, I fear you might be right, and it has happened again, sadly. Currently looking at Toby Atkinson in the Audis. They're all bunching up as they go through the Audi cutting and up round towards Reed Park for the first time. Been incident involving car number 97. It's still Kozłowski leading, Brown, Badowski, Lessington, Vly and Wrightsman plate, Kostadinov, Shirley, Ships, and oh, Gillespie's gone round in the NSX on the exit of Salmon Park. I think Wood's been involved in that as well in car number 77. Car number 41, it says, has been involved in...
Looks like a lot of cars were involved.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does look like a few cars have gone off. I did definitely see Wood's Ferrari and Gillespie's Honda. Car number 13's
Looks
been
like
involved.
Al's also involved.
Yeah, Mad Al, car
he's
number
at the
4.
back.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's been a bit of an off at one of the places at Bathurst. You absolutely do not want to do that. Varga's been involved in the McLaren. Car number 12, car number 19, Jack Mason. That's another McLaren that's been involved. Car number 2's involved. That's Xavier Eugenie. And at this rate, it might be easier to list who hasn't been involved. Chris Brooks been involved in the Lamborghini, unfortunately. Car number 52's been involved. That's Al Gartner. The Mercedes of Lessington's got a bit of front-end damage, I've noticed as well. Badowski is in the pits in car number 45. The pit window hasn't opened yet, so I think he's been involved in something somewhere. But either way, that's not going to do his championship chances any favours whatsoever, as it now basically means that he needs Crawford Brown to make an unscheduled pit stop. Unfortunately,
Looks like it's going to be another long day for the stewards on next Monday.
Yeah, sadly, I fear it could be. Miko Sky, I think, has just had a bit of a moment at the exit of turn 1 as well, as the walking wounded are coming down the pitch straight, side by side as they go through the cutting, and the race being in twilight, starting at twilight, can only mean one thing. It's going to get very, very dark indeed around here. This being Bathurst. Lessington just losing position there to Dahlgren at McPhillamy Park. Ooh, was that a bit of a nudge there from Begg into Chafer? Begg looks as if he is struggling a bit with the Audi. It's not the easiest car in the world to drive, unfortunately. Yeah, Chafer, I think, has been involved in something. Ian Mackey's just come into the pits in car number 97. Ooh, I don't know if that was... I think he might have been involved in the earlier incident, but yeah, unfortunately, it's a fair chunk of the field which has been involved in the pile-up on the mountain, sadly. Currently looking at Toby Atkinson trying to hold on to... trying to get past, excuse me, the Lexus of Nathaniel Shirley. Mackie still showing as being in the pits, unfortunately, so that might be his race over and done with. Currently riding on board with Toby Atkinson, losing a little bit of ground there in the Audi. Like I said, it's not the easiest car in the world to drive, but in the right hands and on the right circuit, it can be a phenomenally quick car indeed. So doing his best to keep on to the back of Shirley, pulling away a good bit from Reitzmer in the other Mercedes. You do get the feeling that Kostadinov at this stage of the race might be a tiny bit faster in the BMW, but then again, he firstly actually has to try and find a way past the Mercedes. There's Tom Shipston in the Lexus, excuse me. He's got Martin Chafer just behind him there in the number 13 McLaren. You can just see Magnus Dahlgren in the foreground in the Ferrari. Shipston coming round Solomon Park, heading into McPhillamy Park now. McLaren is very, very quick over the top of the mountain. There's been an off at the exit of Quarry Corner. That's car number 2, I believe. So I'm going to have to...
That would be Eugenie.
Yeah, I think that is indeed Eugenie. Gillespie's actually showing as a retirement for having not completed a single lap. Same with Gomez. So what you said about Gomez is a hardware issue. I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, Damien. I think he has actually had to retire from the race as a result, looking at the live timing. Mad Al's made up...
Want to end the season?
No, absolutely not at all. Yeah, absolute real shame for Gomez in the Porsche. The list of the injured parties so far. There's the gaps are, I think, Eugenie and Sky may have been involved. Mad Al is in 26th place, and then we have the drivers who are off the lead lap. So we got Varga, Badowski and Ian Mackey all showing as being a couple of few laps down. In fact, Varga, I think, has just come out of the pits on that last lap because his Sector 1 time was a 2:12. Normally, Sector 1 is about... Badowski's Sector 1 time is 39. Ian Mackey is 44. Mad Al is a 41. Eugenie's a 40. So, yeah, I think Varga might have been in the pits to repair some damage. Dahlgren right on the gearbox of Kostadinov's BMW. Going to be a bit of a problem, I think, for the Ferrari going over the top of the mountain. It's really low, that car sparking away. I don't think the Ferrari tends to run with any real form of bump stops on the car. And speaking of Ferrari, there's been a bit of... Oh, Dahlgren's had a big knock there. Basically played pinball with the barriers on both sides of the track. And I tell you what,
that's almost some Tony Hawk GT3 Pro Skating over there.
Yeah, not far off Tony Hawk levels of wall riding, or Chastain levels of wall riding. Unfortunately for Dahlgren, it might have actually given him some pretty major suspension damage, and the pit window's not due to open for another lap or so. So, is he going to come in? No, he stays out, knowing that the pit window opens soon. I think he's going to try and tough it out for a lap. Meanwhile, we've got Shipston, Chafer and Begg right behind him. Begg, who is listed as Australian on the entry. It is his home round of the championship and has been putting in a very strong performance so far. So it'll be interesting to see if he can carry that home advantage through the rest of the race. We're currently riding on board in the Lexus. Dashboard is lit up like a Christmas tree, but that goes for all GT3 cars these days. The amount of electronics in these cars is nothing short of incredible. I mean, I can still remember watching them at Thruxton in British GT back when GT3 was basically a glorified bunch of one-make cup cars with a BOP tying everything together. And nowadays, these things are more akin to purpose-built cars. In fact, they're nearly as quick, if not slightly quicker, than the big GT1s back in the day, despite having 100 brake horsepower less and steel brakes.
I had my first experience watching GT3s with the Thailand Super Series when they came over to Singapore for Formula 1.
Yeah, they are nothing short of
absolutely insane. Especially when you like hear them in real life. It's like so different when you hear them in like ACC or on TV or whatever.
Oh yeah, the best one I remember was probably the old BMW Z4 GT3 back when they used to run, back when a few GT3 cars used to run in the European Le Mans series about, 7 years ago now, and hearing that thing in person at Silverstone as Chafer and Begg have had a coming together on track. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, I do apologise. I well and truly put the commentator's curse on there. Yeah, definitely had the hallmarks of a collision from what we briefly saw on screen. I think Chafer's managed to actually crawl it back to the pits as well. Again, unfortunately, before the pit window opens. So he's going to have to make another trip down the pit lane, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Eddie Warden, all he has to do is basically just cruise around at the moment, and he will make up positions left, right and centre. So he's gone from stone dead last up into P13 in the Bentley by doing this rather miraculous thing called not crashing. Yeah, Badowski is back in the pits, unfortunately, showing 3 laps down at the moment, so Marco's having all manner of issues, I'd imagine. And this surely is going to hand the championship to Crawford Brown. I mean, all Crawford really has to do now is basically keep it on the grey bit.
And keep it home. Bring it home.
Bring it home, keep it on the grey bit, and keep it out the walls. So, granted, that's easier said than done around Bathurst, but it should be doable for him. Meanwhile, Wout of Line up into 3rd place in the Audi, car number 666. Perfect race number for Halloween. Heading into Murray's Corner once more. Pit window still not open yet. But he does have the big Nissan of Emo plates right behind him. Emo is very quick around here, and the GTR.
Wide from Shirley.
Yeah, just a little bit, unfortunately. And the going to lose a few car lengths in the Lexus. The big Nissan also incredibly fast on the straights. Maybe not so much in the corners, but here at Bathurst, it's not too much of an issue. Ian Begg has actually come into the pits as well, because the pit window has opened. Yeah, Gomez confirming it on the Discord server. Screen blacked out mid-start, tried to pull into where he thought the wall was. Well, Hugo, I can confirm you did manage to pull into the wall, because we saw your car embedded in it on the side of the pit straight, so...
He became one with the wall.
Absolutely. So Ian Begg, Kevin Shepherd, Chris Brooks come into the pits, Mikko Sky's come in, Al Gartner's come in, Badowski is still in the pits. Unfortunately, I think Badowski might be a retirement. We've got Josh Barton in as well, I think. Well, Barton's still showing his 3 laps down, so I think there's a few drivers who have had to unfortunately keep plugging away, despite knowing that for the likes of Barton, Eugenie and Varga, realistically the best they're going to be managing at this rate is 25th. Unfortunately, there's a few others who have had issues as well, as Nathaniel Shirley comes into the pits in the Lexus. See what's happened to Schaefer and Varga is going to do McLaren absolutely no favours in the Constructors' Championship at all. And in fact, I think the McLaren team might be at risk of losing second in the Constructors' standings to Mercedes at this rate. Lessentin is in P16, Reitzmer is in P7, and Kozłowski is still leading the race. So, going to be a very, very good point haul. Meanwhile, the highest placed McLaren is currently Jack Mason. Meanwhile, Lessentin is going to have a little look at getting past Giorgio Minga for 15th, and he does, because Minga has pulled into the pits in the 104 Bentley. So, Minga. Oh no! Ryan's had a big off somewhere. He's absolutely... He is crawling the Lexus. There's a yellow flag there, and I think he has...
Race over.
Yeah, race over. He's returned to the pits. Such a shame for Vlaian. He's running very, very strongly, in fact, in P3 as well. So, yeah, shame for Wouty. He was having a good run there. So, yeah, we'll have to see maybe later on if he was helped into that at all. I don't think so, unfortunately, excuse me, because I think MO Plate was showing as being about 0.8 of a second behind him, so I fear that might have been very much self-inflicted at McPhillamy Park. Got likes of Reitzmer and Atkinson, and coming into the pits, Badowski is still showing as being in the pits for some reason in car number 45, with 10.5 minutes to go on the pit window. Been a very attritional second race so far at Bathurst. We can see the car of the triangle is the race leader on the little mini-map. So Adam Kozłowski is coming down towards the S's now over Skyline. And so is Mikko Sky, and that's the Ferrari there in second place of Crawford Brown. thing with trying to lap other drivers around here is that you really do have to pick your moments very, very carefully. Or at the very least, actually...
It's like not really a place to like let a car through, like when you're up the mountain.
Yeah, it's not ideal, and I think that's why... Well, I know Mikko's in the voice chat at the moment, and I don't think Crawford is, so I'm not sure how they would have been able to communicate that with each other.
I did see Crawford like flash him to like let him know that he was being lapped or behind him.
Yeah, and I think the stewards might be looking at that one then. As we all know what the golden rule here is, no fucking flashing, and although in some cases it is actually acceptable, like when you've been held up for over a lap by a back marker, then it is, in which case it is, I think, permissible to...
That's the only exception for flashing.
Yeah, the only exception for flashing, and I don't know if how long Brown was behind Mikko Sky, so yeah, we'll that might be one for the stewards next Monday. We can currently see Damien Vilk up into P6 now that Todor Kostadinov has pitted the BMW. Damien goes pretty well around here, so currently doing a sterling job indeed. Kozłowski's dropped down a few places because he's pitted, and Kostadinov has just become the first driver this evening to receive the dreaded SG30 next to his name. SG30 meaning he's got to come in at some point in the next few laps for a 30-second stop-and-go penalty for speeding.
Gotten this far without one until now.
Yeah, it's funny. You end up thinking, oh, nobody's got a penalty yet for speeding in the pits, and then next thing you know, someone inevitably 30 seconds later either a bit late hitting the speed limiter or a bit early taking the speed limiter off, but either way, it's a penalty. So no doubt it's yeah. If you want to give any of the English football team any advice on penalties before the World Cup, please do feel free to contact us. That's actually coming up later this month, as we have a very rare mid-season break in the Premier League. The 52's gone off at Forest Elbow. I've noticed that being Al Gartner, and he has returned to the pits as well. And car number 112 was involved. That's Atkinson in the Audi. So unfortunately for Atkinson and the rest of the Audi team, it's been a very, very fraught evening. Car number 19, it says, has been involved in something as well. There's Eddie Warden in the pits from 8th place. Car number 19 being Jack Mason, I should add. I don't know why I just looked at that on pit wall. I could have quite easily looked at the timing totem on the left-hand side of the screen. But either way, Warden has just come out of the pits. Currently with Mad Al. Also, no, so it is Mad Al, excuse me. Warden is still in the pits, rather. Kostadinov is still in the pits and will be, unfortunately, for a wee while longer, owing to his penalty. As Ian Begg in the Audi. The McLaren definitely not in for a terribly good result. In fact, looking at where Lexus are, Shipston is P5, Shirley is P7 at the moment, and we have someone waiting to join us in the commentary box, and it is Wout of Lion, Scrimpy.
Hello.
Hello. Mate.
Yeah.
That was so unfortunate for you, man.
Yeah.
I was hoping to end on a high, and now I'm here.
Yes, you're in the. Yes, you are indeed. It was. What actually happened, by the way, just out of interest?
I touched the curb, I lost the car. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. I'm guessing it was at that fast
That's a dipper.
left-hander just before you start going down the hill.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
There.
yeah, McPhillamy Park. Yeah. So it is. That whole section of track is so difficult in a GT3 car because, I mean, most of these corners are taken at about what 180, 190, 200.
To be fair, in the first race it was all fine, but I think the temperatures might have changed a bit too much compared to what I tested in.
Yeah,
Which meant that my tires were severely under pressured.
Yeah, the current air temperature and track temperature is showing as being 10 degrees Celsius. Wind has just picked up ever so slightly to 3 kilometers an hour. Currently, we've just seen Crawford Brown there getting ready to either lap some traffic or decide that actually now's probably the time to try and get into the pits. There's Kevin Shepherd up in 12th place in the third of the Lexuses.
It's been a tough race for a lot of people.
Well, I mean, everyone from Al Gartner down is currently showing as in the pits retired.
Yes.
22nd down.
Which means about like
Third?
a third of the field.
Yeah, third of the field. And Chris Brook has just been hit there at
that
turn
looks like
one.
a tap. And
he was helped there by Atkinson.
Oh yeah, Atkinson.
He spun it again and it's almost taken out Sherblom.
Yeah,
boy.
almost took out. Yeah, Sherblom. You're right, Damien. Almost collected Matt Sherblom in the process of rejoining. It was a shame. It's about 14th place, and what I was saying about Crawford Brown coming into the pits was absolutely right. That's what he has done. Mo Play also in the big Nissan GTR. And then we've got, which I think should move, well, Wilkes in, Dahlgren's in. Al Gartner is actually back out on track by the looks of things, albeit a few laps down, despite having to return to the pits after.
Well, that's definitely more dedication than I had.
Yeah, although some drivers actually, I didn't even take the start of the race, unfortunately.
Ooh.
Gomez.
Yeah.
Hater. His hardware.
I already had some game issues, yeah.
Yeah, had a fairly major sounding issue on his end, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, when I cracked my car there, I just decided like 48 seconds to a minute pit stop definitely was not worth it.
Yeah, true. Although at this rate, you probably would still end up with a top 20 in the Audi.
Yeah, but seeing as I was in like the mindset of finishing top 5, that was just, I decided it's just not gonna be good in any way or shape or form for me anymore.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, mate. Currently looking at Jack Mason in the highest placed McLaren, P13.
I think he's actually the only McLaren still in the race.
There's that as well, yeah. There is indeed that as well, as Badowski is showing as being 10 laps down, which means that
he lost it in the Skyline on the first or second lap, I think.
Yeah, there's the incident involved at the start of the race that almost seemingly decimated the field. It was, I think, according to what Ian Mackey said, basically claimed everyone from P16 down for the most part to P30, because Gomez didn't actually even make it that far.
Yeah.
In fact, Gomez actually had
I
it.
don't think he even made it to the start line.
You're right, Damien. No, he didn't make the start line. The car was already at one with the barrier on driver's right. As Ian Begg having a little look, trying to get past Reitzman, not quite close enough there in the Audi. Mercedes does have a good bit of grunt. Reitzman, though, makes a little bit of a mistake, I think, coming out of the chase, and Begg gets past on the way in to Murray's corner. So Ian Begg has moved up into 8th place ahead of Bernard Reitzman.
Yeah, Reitzman is another driver that looks like he had a few issues at the start of the race and is now trying to fight his way back up.
Well, so's Begg.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Begg as well. It's probably.
I do know about Reitzman because I saw that Mercedes have a little bit of a spin at the start of the race in my mirrors.
Ah, right, okay. It's been, so all things considered, it's been a very good comeback drive then from Reitzman. Yeah. So far, there's Emo in the 71 Nissan. Nissan going very well indeed around here.
Another man that has been haunting me for most of race 1.
Yep. And there's Kostadinov in the number 1 BMW, trying to keep Toby Atkinson at bay in the 112 Audi. I mean, we're currently on Mountain Straight at the moment, so you'd think the BMW would have the grunt, but the BMW does also punch a massive hole in the air, which means that Atkinson's able to get a phenomenal slipstream and get past well before Quarry Corner, heading up into the cutting once more. Kostadinov, I don't think there's anything he can do about that. He's...
The Audis do have quite a lot of speed on this track.
I'm wondering if...
They are a very tough competitor.
Yeah, I'm wondering about Kostadinov's tyres as well. Whether he saved the fresh set for race 1 and is currently on older tyres at the moment, so I'm having a little look into that. Really, well, I think maybe, yeah, the way Atkinson's pulling away from Kostadinov would lead me to believe that he's either on old tyres or the pressures aren't doing too great, which, given it's now dropped down to 9 degrees Celsius.
I don't know who set up this weather, but damn, it's cold.
Yes, indeed it is. It is...
up to 9 degrees now.
That's still jeans and t-shirt weather for a night out in Newcastle.
Yeah, you're
in the north of England. Yes, Newcastle is a bit different to the rest of the country, though, because in Newcastle, even if it's snowing, you won't see people wearing a coat.
I mean, let's face it, in Newcastle, this is summer. So...
And then you'll see me like wrapped up like an Eskimo.
Yeah, to be fair,
yes.
You live in a country where 25 degrees is where people start wrapping up.
Yeah, 25.
Quite literally.
Yeah, 25 degrees in Singapore is what I think is also commonly referred to as a bit nippy.
In other ways, I've had a little look at the data I had, and I think in the practice session at least, the Audi got up to about 282 kilometers an hour on the straight.
Wow.
Which is impressive for what I've seen so far.
Yeah, in
From my
other news, I think Reitzman has, I've just seen come up on screen as having caused a yellow flag, and he has immediately gone back to the pits.
Yeah, that's looking like another victim of the mountain.
Yeah, yet another victim of the mountain at the far end of the track, heading down the hill towards Forest Elbow, I believe.
The mountain has claimed another one.
Yes.
Yeah, and Eddie Warden, despite starting dead last, by virtue of not crashing, has managed to move up into P7 now. So, absolutely stunning comeback from drive through the field from Eddie Warden.
Indeed.
And does make me wonder what would have happened if he'd have actually made qualifying, I think, because I think he either missed qualifying or due to running a little bit late or maybe not getting a clean lap in.
Oh.
But which is why he was starting 31st and last, but...
Yeah, the quali session was a bit busy.
Yeah, either way, some comeback drive. Harry saying, "Go Raccoons" in the YouTube chats. Nice to know.
Well, Damien Wilk is having the drive of his life at the moment in P6, I think.
Yeah, Damien is having an absolutely blinding drive in the 21 car. Damien, to be fair, is pretty damn quick around here, so it's...
Yeah, he had some misfortune in race 1, but I think he's about to very much make up for that.
Oh, massively so, yeah. Absolutely phenomenal job so far from Damien, running P6, and once again, congrats on the birth of your son, Harry, from all of us at RWB International, mate, and hope everyone is all well, mate. Yes, which I think is why Al Gartner was drafted in for tonight's race, because Harry posted on the server this morning that he was going to have to miss the race.
Slightly more important matters to attend to.
Yeah, yeah, much more important matters to attend to, and yeah, so hope all's well, mate. The Wrightson is still showing as being in P20, despite having had his incident 2 laps ago.
Yeah, I'm doubting he's coming out again.
No.
Especially with 5 minutes to go.
To put it mildly. There's Jack Mason in the McLaren.
Looking at the track map, he's out on a Sunday cruise.
Yeah, pretty much. He's got... Well, he's 10 seconds behind Shepherd, and he's 11.5 seconds ahead of Atkinson, so...
In this position, he's getting some fairly decent points for the McLarens.
Yep, as I think Al Gartner's just had a bit of an off going down through the dipper. Ooh. Unfortunately, managed to... only a very brief yellow flag, was able to keep the engine rolling, and he's gone off again at Forest Elbow.
And meanwhile, looking at that Shirley.
Yep. Now looking at Tom Shipston.
Those are 2 of the main competitors of the McLaren team at the moment.
Yeah, currently P3 and P5. There's
they might have this championship in the bag.
They might. It's going to be quite close, I think, between Lexus and Mercedes. I think, based on some staggeringly rough calculations, that Lexus might actually have it.
Yeah, Mercedes is about 300 points behind Lexus at the moment, so...
Yeah, and even though Kozłowski is currently running a very strong 2nd place overall...
Yeah, that man is an alien on this track in terms of lap times.
Looked like a bit of a touch.
Yeah, that was a slight kiss from the wall.
Yeah, slight kiss on the inside from Shirley. Even though the Constructors' Championship is almost in the bag for Lexus, he's not giving up, even though there are only 2 laps to go. There's Magnus Dahlgren in 10th place in the Ferrari. As Crawford Brown is just heading through the chase now. Kozłowski, we're just waiting on him to actually come through the 2nd timing split just after Forest Elbow. Yeah, 15 seconds, or so midway down Conrad Straight, excuse me. Gap being 15.3 seconds. The Crawford Brown could theoretically actually just lift off and cruise home at this stage, because he's got such as his advantage, but doing that when you're a racing driver doesn't usually end well. See also Ayrton Senna, Monaco, 1988. When he was told
I think the racing driver mindset is just flat out until you can't anymore.
Yes, flat out until either race over or by crossing the finish line, or race over by crossing paths with a wall of some kind or a gravel trap. So,
It's Bathurst after all.
Well, yeah, it's Bathurst after all, so it's probably going to be the wall that claims the next car.
Well, it has claimed quite a few already.
Yes, it's claimed about a third of the field.
With 1 minute and 33 left on the clock, there should be 1 lap left at this point.
I'm trying to see where Brown is. Brown is at Forest Elbow.
Yeah, that's definitely 1 lap left.
So,
1 lap left then.
yeah, it's not going to take him a minute and 20 seconds,
Let's
or even a minute.
to jump down from Skyline to the finish line.
Yeah, true.
That would take some spectacular skill and some help from Harry Potter.
Yes, pretty much. It would be a bit of an eye-opener if he did.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
somehow...
take the jump at the chase, but I'm not sure if that one's fully possible in this game.
No, I don't think so. If anything, Crawford Brown is actually pushing even harder. As he's actually pulling out a gap on Kozłowski. His last lap was a 2:02.3. That's only 4 tenths off his best lap, which is a 2:01.9. Kozłowski still has the fastest lap of the race, but Crawford Brown showing absolutely no signs of slowing down whatsoever.
I mean, I wouldn't either. Don't blame it at all. Don't blame him at all.
Yeah, you got a good point there, Scrimpy. You got a good point there, mate. There's Emo in 4th place in the Nissan GTR. I mean, fair play to both Emo and Mad Al for dragging that thing kicking and screaming all season.
That'll be a well-deserved P4 in that Nissan.
Yeah, I'll say no more than that. That is going to be definitely a well-earned beer or two after the race.
It is a track that suits them, though, I think, with just enough straight line speed.
Yeah, just enough straight line speed, and whilst Bathurst is quite twisty, a lot of the corners are also quite quick.
Yeah.
So it does play into the advantages of the GTR quite well, and of course, who can forget Katsumasa Chio's antics in the previous generation of this car around Bathurst, to the point where a lot of V8 Supercars fans who watched him at the Bathurst 12 hours were calling on Nissan Australia to try and see if they could stick him in the Ultima for a guest drive. And
wow, that was a bit odd.
Yes, that was an attempt at time travel by Crawford Brown.
And he's done it again.
He's done it again. He is
like
still
a little bit of a dodgy connection from either our side or their side.
It might be. I don't know what it might be, but either way, Crawford Brown crosses the line to win not only the final Constructors' Championship race of the season, but also, as far as we're aware, the Constructors' Championship itself for drivers. Adam Kozłowski going to come home with the fastest lap of the race and 2nd place for Mercedes, and then it's going to be Nathaniel Shirley who just manages to hold on from, I think that was actually one of the backmark cars there, maybe. That was
a backmarker.
Yeah, it was Brooke and Kostadinov have just crossed the line. There's Emo Plate coming home in P4 in the GTR. And now we're looking at Tom Shipston in the 2nd of the Lexuses. And then Damien Wilk, massive props to him. Very, very good result indeed for Lamborghini, P6. Eddie Warden, arguably easily the most positions made during the race, comes from 31st up into 7th. Then we have Ian Begg and Mark Lessington. Lessington not going to be close enough to make a move. at the final corner, the finish line being very close to the exit, the final corner as well. So Beg 8th, Lessentin 9th, and Magnus Dahlgren is going to round out the top 10 for Ferrari, which he does. Now, it's going to be Kevin Shepherd coming home in P11 for Lexus. Another very strong result indeed. And then it's going to be Jack Mason coming home in P12 for McLaren ahead of Toby Atkinson. Atkinson not close enough, or is he? He's had a much better run through the final corner, and
That was
Mason
a dive and a half
just
from
about.
Atkinson.
Atkinson, knowing that it was the final
something.
lap of the race. Yeah, absolute dive and a half from Atkinson. Then it's Brooke Sherblum, Al Minga, Reitsma, and then we well and truly get into the walking wounded, unfortunately. So behind Atkinson, it was Kostadinov, Brooke, Mikko Sky, Matt Sherblum, Mad Al, Giorgio Minga, and now we come to the unfortunately rather sizable list of retirements during the race. Berno Reitzma, Al Gartner, Nigel Wood, Wouter Vlien, Martin Schaefer, Josh Barton, Xavier Eugeni, Peter Varga, Marco Badowski, and Ian Mackey, with Brian Gillisty not managing to complete the opening lap of the race, and Hugo Gomez, who unfortunately had a hardware issue, which meant he didn't make the start.
Looking at the results
race
page, we also have a final confirmation on the championship. And it looks like it goes towards Marco Badowski.
It doesn't, I believe, because Badowski... Oh, no, wait, Badowski does, just about.
Indeed.
Sorry, yeah. Wow, I wasn't I was not expecting it to update quite that quickly yet. So Badowski wins the championship from Crawford Brown, who did have a couple of 10-point penalties. If it wasn't for that, he'd have won the championship by 9 points. Just goes to show how fine the margins are in the Constructors' Championship. Tom Shipston finishes in third ahead of Nathaniel Shirley and Adam Kajowski, with although Shirley again had a 20-point penalty, which meant that he could theoretically have finished third in the championship as well. Then it's Adam Kajowski, Wouter Vlien, Emo Plake, Mark Lessentin, George McDonald, Toby Atkinson, rounding out the top 10 in the driver's standings. As we come down to the constructor's standings, it is indeed Lexus who take the championship by a couple hundred points from McLaren. Mercedes are in P3 ahead of Audi. Ferrari, strong finish to the season for them to come home in P5. Then it's BMW, Lamborghini, Bentley, Nissan, Honda, and Aston Martin just about hold off Porsche by 6 points in the constructors' standings. Well, that was another interesting race here at Bathurst this evening. Another fantastic Constructors' Championship season. My thanks to Damien Wilkes for being one of the organisers of the championship, along with Red Sky, to Nate Newcomer for hosting the live stream for us, to Damien Lowe and to Scrimpy for joining me in the commentary box. My thanks to everyone who's joined in the fun and games on comms at some point this season. I know Bruce was on comms at some point. Debug was on comms for the opening round at Paul Ricard. Red was on comms as well. Who else do I need to thank? Thanks to everyone for taking part, for watching the YouTube stream. And we'll be back soon with another edition of the Constructors' Championship. Meanwhile, on Saturday night, we have the RWB World Touring Car Cup on Race Room. They're going to be racing at the Slovakia Ring this weekend. The opening round, just to ease everyone in nice and gently. Oh, let's have it on the Nordschleifer. But they'll be racing on the in Slovakia this weekend. We've got the All Request Automobilista Friday night special on Friday night, and then on the 19th of November, in 17 days' time, we have the RWB International 12-hour charity race for 2022, raising money for Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. Still only 22 entries in the field.
Yeah, come on, those are rookie numbers. Let's pump those up.
Yeah, let's pump those numbers up in time for the 19th of November, when we have the 12 hours. And that was the RWB International Constructors Championship for Season 8. I've been Rob Lomas. I've thanked everyone already. And as always, it's bye for now.